Well, the mobile crisis unit, now again, since I'm in Los Angeles, I'm not super familiar with New York's laws, but I would imagine the mobile crisis unit should know of a psychiatric ward that would at least do substance abuse treatment. Have you asked them? Oh, okay. Okay.
Bronx, New York. Can you connect me with their 911, please?
Okay. And I'm doing the best that I can.
Thank you.
Again, I'm in Los Angeles. I can't come right now and pick her up. I am trying my best to find a place that will be able to go get her. I have my personal supervisor on the phone right now trying to find somebody. It is going to take me a minute though. Absolutely.
All right. So walk me through how it initially started.
Shakidra called for me, saying she didn't know how to handle a caller on the phone. Said she had someone on who wasn't very lucid, wasn't really answering her questions, and she didn't know what to do. So I got on the phone, and all I could hear was some breathing, and it took probably a good 3 to 4 minutes to get someone on the phone. A lot of coaxing, I'm here to help you. I know you're there, I can hear you. What can I do for you? How can I help you? And finally I found out her name, but after that it was really just a lot of, excuse me, can you say that again? That's a lot of what the client would say, the caller.
So she wasn't really coherent?
No, she wasn't lucid at all. I mean, it was definitely the more that I spoke with her, trying to coax her, trying to get her to speak to me, the more it really sounded like she was in some sort of psychosis. I was able to get her address, finally, and gave it over to Jessica so she could try to get the police on the phone so we could get someone dispatched to at least do a welfare check to make sure that she was all right. She did admit to me that she had been using cocaine and Molly. And from previous information from Shakidra, she had a diagnosis of schizophrenia. So the combination of the two, is definitely a toxic mixture.
I have no idea. Like I said, I'm in Los Angeles. Recoveryas.com. 314. She said she feels like dying, and she did admit to being schizophrenic.
So, from a personal level, how does it? What's the first thing that comes to your head? I mean, when something like this does happen,
there's always that fear that someone's going to die today. If I don't do my job correctly, that's exactly what could happen. So it's important for me to take that deep breath and say, okay, I have to do everything I can, everything in my power, everything that anybody in this team can do to ensure that doesn't happen. So whatever it takes. If I have to be on the phone with every police department in that city or in that state, that's what we have to do. If the rep has to sit on the phone with that caller for 5 hours, it doesn't matter. As long as we save their life today, that's what matters.
I find a passion in helping people. That's where I find my passion, especially with people that are hit hard by certain circumstances, especially drugs. My parents were taken away from me because of their addiction. I was the eldest of 4. When they were taken away from my life, I was 10, and they were incarcerated due to drug-related offenses. And I know how drugs can affect more than just the user. They can affect the kids. I had to raise my brothers. Because of this, I know how drugs can impact the whole family, not just the person. So if I could help somebody get their life together, then that's going to impact their children, can impact their parents, can impact the whole family cycle. And that's what I'm in it for. Okay, you know what? Your son right now is going through a difficult time in his life. He's struggling with his addiction, and he hasn't really wanted to stop. He has wanted to stop. I could tell you this, everybody wants to stop, but the power of the addiction is a little too great with him right now. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's not your son right now. What he is right now is somebody in very deep trouble who's really messing his life up. So what we're gonna do, the best way you could help him, if he doesn't want to seek treatment for himself, he is 18. He is over 18. He's an adult. He's entitled to not and not be obligated to do things. But what I could tell you is that honestly, the only way to help him, your only way to help him, is to honestly stop giving him money, stop paying his phone bill, stop allowing him in the house. You have to be stern with him. You have to be very stern with him, because if not, he's when he comes crawling to you, it's not him that's calling to you. It's the addict within him, knowing he has no other options and he could get something out of you. Now, if you keep continuing to let this happen, you're feeding his addiction, because not only is he getting stuff from you, but in his mind, the addict side is telling him, you see, I told you we could, I told you we could, I told you we could get it, now let's go get high. And that's what's happening. He's literally, the addict in him is manipulating him, and to the worst part is that it's affecting you, his mother. Some hard experiences are when I'm very compassionate, and when sometimes somebody doesn't want to better themselves. Those are really hard feelings when I try to reach out to them and either they won't get help, they feel that they don't need help, or when an extreme hard one is when a loved one calls. And let's say last week we had a wife who called, and it was for her husband. She said, my husband needs help, he keeps destroying himself, we have 3 kids, and I don't know, this is my last option, I'm trying to stay with him, but unless he gets help, I don't feel like me and him could continue on this path. And it was so touching to see this wife crying and loving somebody more than she loved herself, to keep herself in that situation and to keep her kids in that situation when there's somebody that's a heroin addict and an alcoholic, and she still loves him to the point where she wants better for him than he wants for himself. It's hard, because then you want to help them realize that they have to love themselves. Everybody has to love themselves. And it's okay to love somebody and want better for them, but you always have to put your kids and yourself first. And then when we try to get in touch with the father, he wasn't aware that the wife was calling. So when he found this out, he got really angry, and he felt like she was disrespecting him in a way. And afterwards, he just hung up the phone, and we never heard back from that family. And in my mind, those type of scenarios just play out. What could he have done? Did he get deeper in his addiction? Did he not? Did he feel the compassion from her? Did he let his addiction take over him, and anger instead replaced what could have been empathy and compassion? And it just played out in my mind, and it hurts me to know that people are so loved but won't take the time and effort to do what they have to do for themselves and for their loved ones.
So how does it feel that I save lives on a daily basis? Well, it's exhilarating. It feels good inside to know that you're helping guide someone through the storm, I guess you could say, through the storm and all the chaos, and help them make sense of what's going on. For loved ones that call us, it feels good that they're reaching out. It feels even better when the client themselves reach out on their own. So it's a good feeling. Hi, Colin. How are you? Okay, well, I just wanted to touch base with you. We're still working on your case. You have not been forgotten, okay? We should be hearing something shortly. Is everything okay? How you doing? Okay. Okay, well, all those feelings are perfectly normal, all right? But I need you to hang in there and know that we're fighting for you over here, okay? So, I should be hearing something back shortly. One of the things that's going on is because you have been in and out of the hospital with your broken arm and everything. So the place that I'm actually trying to put you, they just have some clarifications. Okay, so it's nothing to worry about, and I should be hearing something shortly. Okay. But I'm here if you just want to talk.
We don't. We just don't. I have no idea which one she reversed or what happened there.
Right.
Like, yeah, my question here.
Oh no, don't do that. Do not do that. Okay.
So there is a reversal.
There was a reversal.
So how's the weather out there today? How's the baby doing? Okay, is your wife home today, or are you? Okay. Okay, so if you need to talk or you start feeling down again, pick up the phone and call me, okay? Okay, and I'm gonna, as soon as I hear something, I promise you, I'm gonna call you right away. Okay, Colin, if you need me, I'm here.
Let's talk about the callers and what they're experiencing. What do you typically see from that?
Insanity. We're on the front lines of addiction, and so we see a lot of different anger, sadness, confusion, stuff like that.
And is that mostly from the addict or from the loved one?
Oh, that's both. Both. It's a family disease. It's not just the individual. It's anybody who loves you is going to be affected by your addiction. So it's, everybody's affected by it.
What made you get into this job?
My mother was an alcoholic, and I had a lot of people in my family that were addicts and things like that. I never got into drugs or alcohol myself, but it just saddened me to see the road that everybody was going down, and I just kind of wanted to be a part of the solution. And in order to do that, I had to learn about it, and going to school, I just kind of fell in love with the profession and helping people, so just kind of followed my heart.
Is he using anything else, or is it just alcohol? And you said he's been drinking since high school. Maybe like the beginning or the end. Was it like, oh, I'm done with school? So we'll say like right around 15 years, 14, 15. Do you notice any kind of withdrawal symptoms if he's not drinking? So how long has the spitting up blood been going on? I can understand how that can be alarming. Yeah.
The worst part for me is working with someone and spending time with them, getting them ready to get into treatment, and then they just disappear. Like, all the paperwork has been sent out, and then you call to check in with them, and then there's no answer from the phone anymore. You leave countless voice messages, but they don't call back. It's scary because, you know what's going on out there, and the reality of it is life or death. And knowing that you can't reach this person anymore is scary. Like, where are they? What happened? So that's kind of haunting, and it kind of stick with you a bit. And also hearing some of the stories about what they've been through. Like some people with PTSD and things like that, you always ask, like, well, what happened? Was there anything that happened that, brought the PTSD on? And I've heard stories of I was in the gas station working and a guy came in and held a gun to my head and raped me, and just horrible things, and it's always hard hearing that, the stuff that these people go through. Is like, my God, like sometimes that it really is, some people do use like to party and stuff like that, but it's like a defense mechanism to be numb to life and experiences. It's alarming sometimes.
This job means a lot to me. Like, I've worked in treatment for a long time, but I've never actually been at a place like this, where you're getting calls every day from people all over the country that are looking for help, that are tired, that are fed up. Like I said, I've worked in treatment for close to 7 years now, and this is a completely different feeling. Like, most treatment centers aren't as, most places I've worked at, I should say, not treatment centers, are they're not like this. Like, this has more of a family feeling. This has more of a a team. It's more, like I said, it's more like a family, and it means a lot to me. Like, this job is probably one of the best jobs I've ever had, and the satisfaction of actually helping people and saving lives and that kind of stuff is just, like I said, it's indescribable.
The reality of it is, I would suggest, and in my professional opinion, and I've been in this field for upward of 7-8 years, is you would probably need a residential treatment. You'd probably need to go into detox for a couple of days, and then you would need to do at least 30 days of residential treatment. Because the reality is you've been putting alcohol in your body for upwards of 30 years. If you try to do something like an outpatient or something like that, it's going to be like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. Yeah, and what I do, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get you into the best possible facility that I can find for you. And I'm going to try to find you a facility that's not going to break your pocket, that's going to take your insurance, and that's going to, not be a financial burden to you. Okay, so like I said, I just have to run this verification of benefits and see what we have available as far as that goes. Like I said, I would highly recommend, and in my professional opinion, at least, at the very least, a 30-day residential program, simply because, like I said, you've been drinking for 30 years. It's not just going to disappear overnight. And that's just the harsh reality of it. And I'm going to be straight up and honest with you. That's a long time to be drinking.
A lot of the time, people are they're tired. They're done. They've hit that point in their life where they're at their bottom, and they feel like, they need help. And there's usually a lot of emotion that comes along with that, as far as, self-loathing, not feeling good enough, disappointment in themselves, and you really have to encourage them and let them know that they've actually made a good decision in reaching out for help.
So how do you convey that support and that compassion to them?
Several different ways. You can, obviously there's the verbal, let them know that, you've actually made a really good decision in reaching out for help, and you're taking the first step in the right direction to start your life over. Those are the kind of things that I say to, actually give that moral support. Also, just let them know that you're doing a good thing. You're starting over. You've taken that first step in a long journey to the road to recovery.
I kind of fell into working in substance abuse by accident. I went to school to study forensic psychology, and I wanted to work with mentally ill offenders, those incarcerated in prison. And so I interned in a mental health wing of a prison with some maximum security offenders and had my fill of that. So I got a job working in a community correctional facility in Ohio, and we worked with substance abuse, so that became kind of my focus. And I realized what an epidemic it really is in this country, and how little of help people had, and how big the stigma really was. And I felt like that I had a voice and that I can help, and they I feel like people who are suffering from substance use, the families of those loved ones who are suffering in silence along with them, need an advocate. And, you know, I just feel like I'm one more added to the army.
This 53-year-old, he's using a lot of stuff. He's using an 8-ball of Coke every day. That's a lot of Coke.
That's a lot of Coke.
It's a lot. I mean, he has high blood pressure, which is probably from the Coke usage, realistically. And there's probably more stuff there. But there is some cross-dressing going on and other things that are sexually oriented.
Just when he's high, or is
Just when he's intoxicated. Okay. So let's get Christopher to probe out with the girlfriend, you know, when was the last time she noticed this? When was the first time she noticed it? How often is it happening? Things like that. There could be some gender confusion or, you know, identity issues there for sexual orientation. So we definitely need to kind of figure out if that's going on so that we can place them appropriately, or if there's some sort of sexual trauma that he's acting out on. We need to figure that out as well.
There's no history of violence?
No, I don't see any history of violence or anything of that nature, and no legal as well. So let's probe that out.
Okay. It's probably trauma.
I would assume.
I'm willing to bet money there's trauma.
I would assume there probably is some sort of trauma as well. Something from childhood would be my guess.
Yeah, Christopher's got noted here there's self-esteem issues already.
Mm-hmm.
So, trauma or gender identity.
Right.
The two.
The hardest part of this job is when I can't convince someone to get into treatment. Or when it's someone who doesn't have insurance that I can't put into treatment. One of the things that comes to mind is Christmas, my first Christmas here in 2013. It was Christmas Eve, and I got a phone call from a soldier who happened to be stationed in a base actually by my hometown. So I was very familiar with the area. It's a large Army base, and he was calling, telling me that his brother, who is also active duty, well, he was home for Christmas, was completely strung out on heroin, getting ready to go through withdrawal, and he couldn't get into the VA treatment until the following Monday. I think Christmas was like a Thursday or something, so he was going to go several days without being able to get into treatment. And the brother that was calling said, I have my brother in the shed out back because I can't let my mom see my brother strung out like this again on Christmas. And I can't get him help. What do I do? How do I do this? And it was heartbreaking. It really was, because I couldn't do anything. You know, the Army insurance, military insurance is very particular. It's not something that we currently are able to work with, which I hope we can change, because that's a population that really suffers in silence. You know, we talk about how just addicts in general suffer in silence. The service members, you know, they have kind of a double stigma. Not only are they addicts, but it's the military, where you're not supposed to have those problems. You're not supposed to need help. If you have mental health issues, you risk getting kicked out, and you know, that's when it's hard. You know, I went in the bathroom and cried after that. I mean, it was Christmas Eve, and this brother didn't know how to help his brother and didn't know what to do with them. And to know that they had already served and that they had just come back from a tour of duty and all of that, it was really hard. So yeah, when I can't get someone into treatment, that is the hardest part of this job.
The person who calls in can be either the family member that's looking for help because they don't know what to do. Their loved one is an addict or alcoholic that has stolen from them. They've lied, they cheated, and done all of those things that are associated with addiction. There can be a lot of things that's going on in their lives to make them pick up that phone. It could be a legal issue, an arrest that's happened. It could be a domestic violence situation, a mother that's lost their children. It could be a family member that's just dealt with another overdose and another hospitalization. There could be any number of things to make them pick up the phone.
That's probably your only reservation, is that your son is 19 and we're asking you to send him across the country for treatment. Trust me, I have a son. I completely understand that. But I will tell you, from a clinical aspect, that although as parents it's kind of harsh for us to say, okay, yeah, I'm going to put my son on a plane and send him across the country for treatment. But from a clinical side of that, if it's close enough for you to visit, it's probably too close to all of the things that make him use. So the reasons that he used are all there, the people that make him use, the situations that make him use, all of the triggers and things that he's accustomed to being around are still there. And those people that are giving your son drugs, whether he's paying for it or not, are still there. And so the situation is that we want to get him out of that element. So sending him outside of your state is the best idea, it's the best idea, is to get him away from all of those things. I mean, if you can drive there, so can the drug dealer. And about a week to 2 weeks into treatment, every client goes through the same process. They go into what we call flight mode, and that essentially means that the drugs are beginning to come out of their system, they're starting to feel better, and then all of a sudden the obsessive behavior in their brain comes out, and they say, okay, I don't want to feel this emotion. I'm not ready. They haven't felt feelings and emotions in a long time. Even with a year of usage, your son hasn't dealt with any of his emotions in at least a year, if not longer. And when all of those things begin to come up, his go-to has been to get loaded. You know, that heroin has always been his go-to. I'm pissed off, I'm gonna go get some heroin. I'm afraid, I'm gonna go get heroin. I'm happy, I'm gonna go get heroin. When he begins to deal with those emotions, he's gonna go into flight mode. The importance of finding the right facility to match a person's need is probably the most important situation when it comes to treatment. At least that's my personal opinion. If you go into a facility that is a hospital-based program and you don't like to be in a hospital and you're not allowed to smoke a cigarette because you're in a hospital and they don't allow you any socialization and you're not going off the premises, it can be very devastating to an individual that needs to be outside and is relying on, say, cigarettes to get them through the situation. Or if a person goes into a program that's, you know, not a high-end program and they're used to living in a high-end, you know, environment, then that can be a little bit of a difficulty as well. I go home every day feeling like I've put in every bit of effort that I have, and I feel good about myself. I feel good about what I'm doing, and I feel good about the places that I've put these clients and what I've done for them and what they've done for themselves. That's really the most important thing, letting them know that they picked up the phone and they've done this for themselves. That makes me feel great.